Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno, the founder of Real Men, Real Style, and today I'm going to be talking about the importance of being a sharp-dressed man. This video is in support of an article that I wrote about being, sharp-dressed, and so I'm just going to go point by point. And if you're interested in, watching more videos on men's style, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel right above here. And if you want to follow or go check out the article in which I go into a lot more detail, you can follow the link right below here. In addition, you can contact us and, talk to us over at our Facebook page, on Twitter, and visit our website, realmenrealstyle.com, where we have a lot of great information. Okay, so let me go ahead and jump right into this. Why is it important to pay attention to your appearance? Why be a sharp-dressed man? Well, especially when you look around. I actually just read an email today of a guy emailed me, and he's like, hey, everyone in my college class, none of them dress sharp. I'm an older student, though, so I'm a bit concerned about it. Should I be dressing a bit nicer, or should I dress down to the way everyone else is dressing? And this got me thinking, dressing sharp, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't really matter what situation you're in. I think taking pride in your appearance is important. Whether you're a blue-collar worker, you're a white-collar worker, you're a student, you're a 75-year-old retiree. In any case, I'm going to make a split-second decision about you whenever I first meet you, before I talk. Because if you think about it, most people we see on a daily basis, we don't talk to. We pass by them, but we still make judgments about them. Because if you see a guy and he looks like he's waving his arms around, he's dressed like a homeless person, and he just gives the physical signs that, he looks like a homeless or a drunk person or someone that's on drugs, you're gonna get out of that person's way, and unless you've got a death wish or something. But most of the time we look at somebody and we make snap decisions. We have ideas in our mind of what a bank president looks like, or what a skater looks like, or what a professional athlete looks like. And if we ever meet somebody and they kind of go against that grain, it's a bit surprising. And we're oftentimes a little bit hesitant to believe that this person who's dressed like this could really be this, because we have these preset notions of what someone in a certain type of area of society looks like. So why handicap yourself? Why put yourself in a position of having to work your way up? Why not start at the top, dress sharp, and then people oh, you're a student, but you dress like a professional. I would have thought you worked here in the marketing department. You look just so sharp. That's much better than for someone to say, hey, can you point me to someone who works here? Oh, you're the president. I guess if you've reached a certain area in success, you can do that. But for most of us, we need to pay attention to our appearance. So my article was broken up into two parts: how dressing sharp affects you and how dressing sharp affects others. So let me talk about the three ways that dressing sharp affects you. So whenever you dress sharp, there's a bit of a transformation effect. And this can best be illustrated by a quick story. So the FBI did a study, and they took two different groups of agents. They put them in two separate rooms. They gave them the same problem. And both groups came up with entirely different scenarios of how they would rescue the hostage. That was the actual problem. And the only thing that changed, and this was done through a number of random samples, was the way that they dressed them. One, they were dressed in suits, and they chose to negotiate. The other group, they dressed in combat gear. And guess what they decided to do? To rush and to go in and to forcibly, free the hostages. So you think about how what you wear oftentimes dictates how you're going to behave. I mean, if I'm dressed sharp, I'm going to behave a certain way. If I'm dressed to, like I'm going to go in and I'm going to be a demolition guy destroying a building, I've got another type of attitude when I put on my steel toe boots versus my dress shoes that are made from really delicate leather. And it's not saying that, basically I'm just getting across the point. There is a transformation effect. So if you're not feeling good, and women know this, they'll dress sharp whenever they're not feeling great, because they know that dressing better, dressing, to a higher degree, oftentimes kind of forces them to feel a little bit better. Now, self-discipline. This is something where if you're going to dress sharp, you need to have the discipline to make sure that your wardrobe is in order. It's pretty easy to dress bad. I mean, you don't have to pay any attention to anything and you just throw clothing on your body. But if you're going to dress sharp, you have to plan ahead. The night before, you need to make sure your shirts are ironed, that your suits are pressed, or that, if you're simply going to wear clothing, that it fits you. And I'm talking more for, in a casual realm. Polo shirts, shorts, sandals. If you're going to be wearing those, you can wear that and it can look sharp, or you can wear that and it can look bad. And usually the difference is the guy that looks sharp, he's wearing very similar clothing, but he's making sure that it fits him, that it's clean, that it's free from stains. Little things like that make a huge difference, and that's self-discipline. The other thing is appreciation and respect. So if you dress sharp, you're going to pay attention to how other people are dressing sharp, and you're going to appreciate that because you know how much work it is and how much you have to pay attention to detail in order to get that type of appearance. You're probably going to, look at perhaps your wife or your girlfriend, and you're going to realize that, wow, she does, put quite a bit into how she dresses. And I'm not saying that, dressing sharp, I'm not wanting to hint that it's effeminate at all. Because if you look at, some of the top militaries in the world, you look at the British special forces, United States special forces. You meet with a professional soldier, what does he pay attention to? His uniform, his gear, because he realizes a lot depends on that. And it's a simple reflection of who he is and pride in how he dresses. So how does your appearance affect others? Well, there's a lot to be said about the power of visuals. Simply look at, if you own a red sports car, what do we all know about red sports cars? They're more likely to get pulled over simply because they are more likely to be caught driving fast. People take notice of a red sports car versus a blue Corvette or a black Corvette or a white Corvette. So red is a color that we're drawn to. I mean, if a woman walks into a room and she's wearing, or a man walks into a room, I don't want to appear sexist or anything, but I'm going to use the woman example. She walks in a red dress into a bar. What do we all look at? Boom, we are attached to her. Now, if she comes in dressed in colors which do not just draw us to them, then that makes sense. I mean, think about it. We're like bees. We're like animals. A bee is drawn to a flower because of the, well, I'm sure there's some botanists or some entomologists, is that with bugs, they're going to disagree. But my understanding is that it's something to do with the color spectrum of the flowers and the shape and all of that, which draws the insect to it. And we're the same way. And believe it or not, other men, if you can give yourself a very masculine, healthy look, other men want to work with you. They want to learn from you. They want to be around you. And that's not a bad thing in business. That's not a bad thing at all, because we don't want to be around sickly people or people that, in a sense, give off a feeling of an isolationist type feel. We want to be around people who attract us, who naturally we're drawn to and make us feel good, whether you're a man or a woman. All right, first impressions. Very important. You want to set the best first impression, because first impressions are formed before you open your mouth. People look at you and they make a quick snap judgment. And whether that be a high one or a low one, you're set there. And it's almost like cement. And it takes a lot of effort and force to move it up or to move it down. So why not start up? All right, the power of color, I've already talked about. Patterns. Now, patterns can have the effect of actually making a short man look taller, or a wide man, look a little bit thinner. Patterns, you go with a solid monochromatic look. It's going to allow the eyes to go up and down. It's going to give you a taller, slimmer look. That's something you want. All right, influence and authority. So I was kind of hinting at this, but we have an idea in our mind of what a manager, what a business owner, what a successful person looks like. Whatever that picture may be in your mind, think about, mix in your individual style and go for it. I mean, yes, there are exceptions to the rule. Yes, Tony Hawk doesn't dress like, a multimillionaire and the CEO of an amazing brand, but that is a unique case. But even the guys, but Tony Hawk, he still brands himself. He still pays attention. He still wears the kind of clothing that represents the lifestyle that he represents. That is style. Whatever your walk in life, pay attention to it and, make sure that you are crafting that and you are having the influence with your clothing that you want before you even open your mouth. And the last thing, positive assumptions. And this is tied closely to everything I talked about. You want people to have a positive first impression, because once they cement that positive first impression, you're given a lot of leeway. You can have a lot of mistakes. The opposite is that you create a negative first impression. And then if you screw up or you have a small mistake, people say, oh, well, that just reinforces what I initially thought. And that's not what you want. So the importance of being a sharp-dressed man is that your appearances are incredibly important, more important in a first meeting than what you say, because so many times you don't get a chance to say anything, or people are, they're just paying attention to all these other visuals, and really pay attention to how you dress. It's a small thing that you can do. You can control that. You can't control, people's stereotypes. You can't control people's backgrounds and what they're going to think. Except you can control what they think about, you based off of how you dress. They at least, will respect that. Okay, this has been Antonio Centeno with Real Men, Real Style. Again, if you've enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go check out the article. Connect with us on YouTube, by subscribing, Facebook, Twitter. Gosh, there's a lot of other ways out there to contact me. Our email list, make sure to subscribe to our email list over at Real Men, Real Style. We give a lot of insider tips, a lot of things I don't even release here on the website, on YouTube or any other channels. So hopefully you found this useful. Take care. Bye-bye.